Okay, class, let's go through the practice activity number 1. And I'll model this fully so you can see how it's put together, and I'll just show you what it looks like. There it is, fully modeled. So let's get started. All right, so I'll just close that down and let's just go back to the drawing for a second. I'm going to start off with this slot, the base here, and you can see that it's got a 114 millimeters between the centers, and it's got a radius here of 32. All right, so let's go to Inventor. I'm going to use the drop-down part of the new, and hit New. And the part I want is metric, so yours may not be in metric, so you might have to select metric and standard millimeter part. Okay, so make sure you do that. You don't want to select an imperial system because it's a real pain in the backside to swap that over later. Okay, I'm just going to hit create here, and you can see once it loads up, there's nothing really on my screen. Here's my navigation box here. I can navigate around. There's absolutely nothing here. So it's very daunting to get started. There is a few things that are hidden. If I just open my Origins tab over here, you can see they've given us some planes, some initial working axes, and a center point. But all of that is turned off. Visibility is turned off on that. So we can't actually see it. But let's just get started, okay? So remember, one of the first things we're always going to do is start a 2D sketch. So let's just select that. And the first thing it's saying is select an existing sketch, plane, for me to work on. So I'm just going to select the XZ plane here. And the screen will navigate around, so I'm looking at it from the top down. You can see that now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is create that slot. And just remember, it was 114 across, had a radius of 32 on the end there. Now, it's got a lot of great built-in features, and just under the rectangle here, drop down, we've actually got a slot feature. I'll just show you where that is again. So there it is. I select the origin point here. It's going to ask me for the distance between them. I'm just going to manually type that in at 114. And then it's going to ask me for the radius, which was 32. Okay, so we see that. Okay, it's actually put the diameter at 32, so let's change that. So if it's got a radius of 32, that means its diameter is actually 64. Change that, and you can see that it's drawn the slot outline. Now, when I finish the sketch, I have to hit Finish Sketch, just up here in the top right-hand corner. And you can see that there it is. There's my sketch. Over here, I've created a new sketch. And once I've done a sketch, one of the things I normally do is to extrude that sketch. You can see that's taking a sketch and it's now turning it into a 3-dimensional part. You can see that it's got a height here of 19 millimeters. That dimension there is designating the 19 millimeters. So let's just type that in. 19, just typing it into that box there, hit OK. So there it is there. Okay, I've got a new extrusion, and hidden under that extrusion is the sketch that I created. I'm going to double click that slowly, and I'm going to rename this slot. Okay. It's always a good habit to get into is to name your features as you go through so that you can easily go back and edit them later. Okay, so I've got that slot feature there. Next thing I'm going to do is this box that sits on top. 64 millimeters across, it's 45 high. Okay, I'm going to start another 2-dimensional sketch. I'm going to select this top face. You can see now I can select this existing face to draw on. It'll rotate me around. And I don't want the slot, but if I just drop down, it had this rectangle, this 2-point rectangle. And You can see down here in the corner, it actually tells me what it's asking for, selecting the first corner. So my first corner, I'd like it to be attached to that line there. And the second corner, I would like it to be over there. Okay, to get it out of there, I just hit OK. Now I've put no dimensions on here, so let's actually dimension this up. So what were those dimensions again? 64 across. So what I want to do is I want to select that line. Now it's actually trying to select the line behind it. So if I just wait for a little bit, it'll give me a drop down here and it'll actually let me pick multiple options. So I'm just going to select the second one there, and it was 64 millimeters. Okay, I'm going to add. So what this is saying is a driven constraint, because it's locked onto both lines. I'll just accept that. And there it is, 64, 64, 64, 64. I just hit OK to get out of that. Notice that it's not really locked in the center there, is it? So I'm going to use a constraint. So over here on my constraints panel, I've got these things called horizontal and vertical constraints. Now it's a bit of a guesswork which one you want to use, but you can see that what it's actually asking for, you can see that faint dotted line that appears. So what I want to do is I actually want to select the midpoints of both of these lines. And there it is there, and we'll jump them on. So now that box is central, it's got the right dimensions. Let's hit finish. Now I want to extrude that up. I want to extrude it a height of 45 millimeters. So if I hit extrude, it's automatically found that feature for me, which is fantastic. And I want to go up 45 millimeters. So this is really starting to take shape now. Okay. If I go back to my drawing here, you can see it's really starting to get the outside shapes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add this 45-degree chamfer that sits in the middle here. Okay. So let's go back to this. Now, I'm going to create a sketch of that feature and I will extrude it. But you can see I don't really have a face to select. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel that. What I want to do is I want to create a plane that's right in the middle there. And luckily, Inventor has a lot of features for creating planes. And this time I want to create a mid-plane between two existing planes. So I'm going to select that feature. I'm going to select the end outside planes here. And you can see that it's created a new plane in the middle here. And here it is over here on my parts tree. In fact, if I just go back to that boss that I put in, I haven't named it, so let's just name that boss. Alright, there's my work plane. So now I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to create it on that plane. So I just have to be careful with my selections, just take your time. And there it is there. And there it is. So now I'll be drawing on this boss plane, or this plane. The problem is I can't actually see what I'm doing, so I'm going to jump over to the Views tab. See the tabs along the bottom here. I was in this Sketch tab here. Jump across to the View tab, and I'm going to turn my visual style to shaded with, no, wireframe with hidden edges, so that I can actually see through my part to what I actually want to do, use. Okay, jump back over to my Sketch tab, and what I want to do is I want to create a line from the top corner here. I'm just going to create a triangle. So I've created a line across the top. I'm going to grab onto the end of that line here, come down. Be careful not to automatically grab it onto a center point or something like that, or a midpoint in that case. So I'm creating 3 lines there. There it is. Now I have to add some dimensions. And from that line there to that point, oh, it's not letting me do that. let's add a point there. I have to do the same down there. Notice that if I can't actually select the point I want, I've just added a point. And that dimension was 13. Same down here. Well, that was pretty close, wasn't it? 12.709, 13. Okay. So now that we've created the feature, I'll finish the sketch. Now I'll just leave it in wireframe at the moment so that I can see what's going on. I'm going to use my extrude tool. I'm going to select that feature. And there's a few things I need to change. First of all, I want to extrude it out from the two planes, out from the plane in both directions. So I've got this feature down here that I can do, and I don't want to add it to it. I actually want to cut away this time. You can see it's changed now. So what I've done is I've selected the symmetric distance and I've used the cut feature. The distance I need to get, it's 38 millimeters. You can see that there. 38, enter. Okay, and you see it's got that feature in. I'll go back to my Views tab, change my visual style to shaded with edges. That's my preference. I'm going to rename this feature and I'm going to call it 45 cutout or cut. And I don't need this work plane anymore, so I'm just going to toggle off its visibility. To do that, I right click it, it gives me some options. I'm going to toggle that off, just like that. Okay, so we're almost complete with this part. The last thing we need to do is add these two diameter 22 millimeter holes in the center here. Okay, back to my 3D modeling. I could create a sketch with a circle and push it through, but we do have a hole feature here. Okay, so I select the surface I would like it to be on. I select a reference edge. Now it's in the center of this one, so I'm just going to select that. And I just change its diameter to 22. Okay, jump around, do the same to the next side. On that one, select my reference edge to lock it. There it is, see it jumps slightly. It's already set at 22, hit OK, and there is my part complete. Almost. Remember, I'm just going to change these. So 22 die. 22 die. No, die. No. Oh, there we go. No, can't do it. So let's just do that. 22 die 2. There we go. And let's just change that one there. Hole 1. Okay. So there is my part fully complete. Okay. Now you may need to watch this a couple of times. I'll do a tutorial in class as well to show you how it's done, and I'll be around the class to help you with the process. There's a few tricky things going on here, so you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. All right, I'm going to have a quick drink and then I'm going to start the second part. Thank you.